Welcome to the Onward podcast. This is your host, Emily Harman. This is a very emotional episode for me. For those of you who don't know, maybe this is your first episode of the Onward podcast that you're listening to. I retired from working for the Department of Navy in May of 2019. And in June, my children's father, my former husband, was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And he passed away on December 11th, 2019. And on September 14th, I had one of the final things I needed to do as trustee for his estate, for the trust, and that was to sell his house. And it was a very emotional time. And in this interview, my friend Helen Warnicke is interviewing me, actually. And she was my friend, and she also sold the house for me. She's a realtor. And I wanted this episode to be perfect, but I know my introduction's not perfect, and it's okay, because there's no such thing as perfect. If you're in the Onward movement, you know that. The Onward movement is another group that I lead. And if you just go to Facebook groups and search on the Onward movement, you'll find it. But there's no such thing as perfect. This isn't going to be perfect. I have a deadline. I need to get this to the editor. And it's just a lot of raw emotion in this episode. And that's really all that I can say about it right now. So let's get to the interview. I'm sitting here with Helen Warnicke. I interviewed you before.
Yes,
about how you gave up a kidney.
Yes, I did. Yes. And again, we've been friends for quite some time.
Yeah.
I told you, I think the first time was when you helped Ray coach basketball, I think is my first real memory. And then, of course, we saw each other on base here and there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's fun. But
last night I got to stay at your house. We're looking out over that's the Wicomico River, right?
Yes, Wicomico River. Mm-hmm. Yes. So we're over here in Cheptico, just a nice little quiet spot in the world. So, yeah, other than our grandson, you're our first house guest.
Well, it was really nice to stay here.
You're welcome to Casa Warnicke anytime. So I really wanted to record this with you because I know I suggested it by text, but something major is happening today for you and for your children. And I feel blessed to be a part of it because it is a milestone in your lives that, some people, it triggers things in their lives and they need to work through it emotionally. I can see that you're getting emotional.
I know, I am. And I've been distracted all weekend.
Yes.
So don't worry if I cry.
That's okay. I'll cry with you because I get emotional about it too. But that's what I love about my job is to help people. And a lot of referrals I get are estates. And your estate for Bruce, his family trust estate, and selling the house that he lived in for many years while he was here in St. Mary's County and in working on the base. I too had the privilege of working at one point with him. So I knew Bruce. And I know that your relationship didn't work successfully, but you have 2 beautiful kids out of it. Yeah. And getting to see them while you were cleaning up the house was awesome. I hadn't seen them since they were probably 10 or 12.
Right.
And to now see them as grown adults is just amazing. But today's the milestone. I mean, even though you're prepared for it, it's still a time in your life that you have to stop and take a reflection of you're going to be signing your name as a trustee for Bruce. And it's probably one of the last elements of his estate that you have to take care of besides filing tax returns, which we talked about last night are a pain in the patootie, but hey. But I just wanted to talk to you for a few minutes about that and to gauge how you are. And knowing I shared my moment of last night of thinking that I was prepared for something and then for it to hit me like a ton of rocks. And so that's why I was like, we should really talk about this and see how you're feeling.
Well, I'm not really good at knowing how I'm feeling. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I'm working on because I think we talked about it when you work for the Navy in like a male dominated environment your whole life. You don't have to, but you do tend to act a different way sometimes. Yes. And then, just my parents didn't really talk about feelings that much. My mom's 77. And so she's been through some tough times, but, we were talking about that last night. Her family just doesn't even talk about it. You just don't talk about it. So she doesn't really get how I'm feeling over Bruce. She doesn't understand it because he treated me so poorly when we were married. She doesn't understand, because I left and I saw her at the farmer's market on Saturday when I was leaving to come up here. And she said, oh, yeah, you're going to close on the house and good luck or whatever. And I said, yeah, it's really emotional. She goes, wow, you're just selling the house. So she doesn't get it. So it's like, I don't have that many people to talk to about.
Right.
So I hired a counselor to help me with feeling more. And I'm learning that one of my ways to avoid feeling is to stay really busy. And I thought that when I retired, I would be able to slow down and not be as busy. But I noticed that I'm still busy. And actually, she's having me meditate for 40 days in a row. And I haven't been able to do it because I skip a day or something. And she goes, well, why are you skipping a day? And I said, because I'm too busy. I've got all this stuff I want to get done. And she goes, maybe that's your way of avoiding feeling. Because when I meditate, I start to feel. Yeah. And lately, every time I meditate, I start to think about Bruce and I cry. So I guess, and then you texted me about the closing coming up. And I'm somebody who doesn't really think about my trip until like right before it happens. But actually, this past week, I've been feeling really stressed. And part of it's because like I had to get some more death certificates and they came in the mail. And it's just so hard. I open them and I just put them in a corner.
Yeah.
It's just hard. And then you texted me about it. I'm like, oh, yeah, I guess maybe that's why I'm stressed.
Yeah. Inside, you're internalizing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I've seen you come a long way. I mean, and I listen to your podcasts.
Yeah. So
I've seen or heard the progress as you've been moving through this, and you are so open about what you're feeling and how you're feeling. And that's really awesome. Yeah. So I feel like you've come a long way in the growth in this. He was a man that you loved. Yeah. He's the man that you had 2 children with that are awesome children. So yes, there was ugly there, but there was also this beauty there. And so having to let go of those feelings, probably harbored some anger to keep him at a distance for a while.
Yeah.
And now that you're having to let go of that anger, you're probably revisiting some of the things that you loved about him. And you see your kids every day, or on FaceTime or wherever they are, and you remind yourself of the beauty of what you had with him.
Yeah.
And so there is some positives to that whole thing, even if there's still that little bit of anger. Like last night when we were talking around the dinner table, I'm still a little angry about that situation. And so there's still going to be carried that. But at some point or another, don't you feel like you're starting to think about the nice things that you knew about him?
I think it's less anger now and more hurt and sadness because I really did love him and I really didn't want to get a divorce. And when I look back on it now, back then in the 2000 or so when we got divorced, anxiety there wasn't really a term for it. And I think anxiety is the cause of a lot of the way he treated me. Mm-hmm. And the sad thing is that he wouldn't go get help for it. And, it was always my fault. So, and at some point when it started to impact the kids, I just had to leave. But for the most part, got along. We didn't have to we hired lawyers just to do the paperwork for the divorce, but we didn't have this big argument over who got what. We didn't argue over money. Yeah. None of that. It wasn't like a nasty divorce. And then he still supported me in my career. We would talk from time to time about work and different things. Yeah. And actually, my daughter's boyfriend's stepdad came over, and he's like somebody who came over to Bruce's house when we were going through it. And he's somebody who can like get feelings of things. And it was when went into Bruce's house, which he was kind of a hoarder and had a lot of stuff in it. And he goes, I just sense a lot of sadness in here. And Bruce didn't really date a lot after we split up. And, I know that there was sadness. He didn't want to have a split, but anyway. And then when he got sick in June and then passed away in December, he was nice the whole time. Yeah. So we were able to come to closure somewhat, but he doesn't talk about things. So he didn't really admit that he was sick. He didn't talk about it. So that's something that I think comes up for me is like, I wish that he would have talked about it and we could just talk over some things, but he wouldn't talk.
But what comes to my mind is that he trusted you.
Yeah.
You're his trustee.
Yeah.
He trusted you, knowing that he had to have something in his heart to know that you were the one that he needed to rely on for everything. And he knew that you would take care of your children. Yeah. He loved there too. Yeah. In that regard. Yeah. So
initially it was his brother and then he switched it.
Knowing you would take really good care of your 2 kids in regards to that. And so, like I said, this is another milestone of closing out his life and that's kind of hard too.
It is.
I mean, knowing that it's kind of final, there's still that, I don't know, what do you call it? Tentacle or something that is tying you to him. So once this closes out and you file that final tax return, whenever that may be, 21, 22, whenever it gets finished, and you'll still have him in a way because you'll see the beauty in the two children. You'll have your two kids and the lives that they'll bring into the world whenever they do that. And well, you're already seeing it with Will and Marshall and Colette, is right?
Corinne.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, Corinne. So,
and it's sad that, like when Will gets married and Anna get married, that Bruce won't be able to be there, but we all came to closure with him. So that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of good about it.
What a privilege. You asked me earlier when my dad died, and it was 2005, and Charlene Forrest was my boss, and she was the best boss I think I ever had. 15 years out of my 30, I worked with or for her.
I remember Bruce talking about her.
She really was squared away, but the kindest soul. And my dad had a stroke on the first week I think I worked for her. And she's, go take care of your family, come back when you're ready. But 2 years later, here's my dad diagnosed and is definitely going to go in like 3 weeks. And she said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to go sit with him. Mm-hmm. So back then, of course, I could have taken my laptop, but I still had invoices from contractors that were in paper form. I just would gather my paper every day and I'd go sit in the room with my dad at the house. Mm-hmm. And people are like, you think, oh, tragedy, he died of cancer and all these things. But I look back and I go, what a privilege. Yes. And your kids are going to look back at that. Wow. Yeah. You had a chance to have conversations.
Anna was able to not even work and just be there and take care of him the whole time and have some conversations with him. Yeah. That is a privilege.
Moving him from bed to chair to whatever. I mean, I laid my dad out on the bathroom floor and he just stuck his hand behind his head and laid on the floor and said, call your sister Paula. She'll come help me get me off the floor. And I was like crying. I'm sorry, Dad. I forgot to lock the wheelchair. It just went slide. So again, Anna will probably have some funny memories to keep her smiling too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what a privilege. I always say it's a privilege. Some people think it's a chore to take care of someone that's dying.
No.
It is. We talked about spiritual things. Mm-hmm. If you can't see a spirit, a grace, a God, whatever you believe in that process, it's...
Oh, yeah. No, you definitely do.
Yeah. So
I've never been next to somebody. I've never really lost somebody that I was really close to. I mean, my grandmothers, yes, but it's different. Maybe when they're a little older, I don't know. But and didn't grow up in a family like you where everyone lived close and you spent a lot of time with them. So Bruce is the first person that I've actually seen pass away. And with technology, what was cool is I was able to, while he, the day he died, and you just had that hard breathing and everything, but I was able to get his dad and both of his brothers and his dad weren't there. So I was able to get them on the phone and they talked to Bruce, and you could tell that Bruce couldn't say anything, but you could tell he heard. And then called his best friend from West Point, Roland. Roland stepped out of a meeting, took the call, and was able to talk to Bruce, and then his best friend from high school. Yeah. And that was pretty cool. And then I remember he had a motorcycle and Will wanted to get it, but I told him as he was dying, I said, I actually think, Bruce, I'm going to take that motorcycle and drive cross country. You could see his eyes like, no, his eyes brighten up. And it was just funny. We all noticed there was a reaction there because he never would trust me on a motorcycle or anything. He knows how I am. So it was just funny. So there's, and just we all sung as he was passing away. And it was just really, a blessing to be able to be there. And I was thankful William was able to come down and be there.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, it's hard, but at the same time, you're experiencing this passing of wherever they're going to. I believe in heaven. So they're going there. And you think if what we're told is happening, no pain, right? Maybe, I don't know, maybe he's riding a motorcycle up there somewhere or whatever. He's happy. But to know that, it just feels, to me, that's comforting to know that they're finished with whatever's going on in that body.
Yeah, they're out of pain. Mm-hmm. And I bought this book this weekend, and I've read a few books by people who have died and then come back. And one of them, I don't remember the name of it, was a brain surgeon though. So he knew all about the brain. So he kind of knew what was happening as this was happening to him, he said. But anyway, this woman had stage 4 cancer and she died. And then she said she made a decision to come back. But she said basically, and I'm not done reading it, but heaven is like a place. It's like a state of mind. It's like just, and then even Walt, a former boyfriend of mine, he said when he was 12, he drowned and his sister saved him, but he remembers like this feeling of lightness and just happiness, like love, and floating over the trees. So I think he was close to death and then, was saved. And so that's what people describe is just, it's an indescribable feeling of love and all the pain's gone.
Yeah. The unfortunate part is we're all still here and we're experiencing the pain.
Yeah.
The emotional pain of losing somebody.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, today you're signing your name with trustee behind it on a house that he's lived in. All the belongings, you've already worked through those emotions of clearing out the house.
Yeah.
Clearing out the memories.
Yeah. It was really hard.
Yeah. Because I saw you guys that weekend.
Yeah.
Or that week, actually. It was a Monday. And so that was hard. So these little milestones going to keep coming up.
I know.
Whatever. And like you said, it's not going to be done. I mean, obviously, every time, when the kids get married.
Yeah.
When they have kids.
Yeah, when they have kids.
It's going to be that milestone. And
yeah.
Bruce is going to come back in your mind and in your heart for a little bit.
Yeah.
And it'll be a little twinge.
Yeah.
But maybe between now and then, you'll see something that will bring the happiness and the smiles rather than the tears of sadness, tears of happiness.
Definitely.
Kind of deal. So.
One of the things that was hard was going through his boxes because he had a lot of boxes in the basement that we had never gone through. They had been boxes since I had married him. He just kept everything. He had all his journals from when he was at West Point. He had a day planner for every year from back to 1976 or so, maybe even earlier, because he graduated in 78. So he had a day planner for every day. Can't read his handwriting, so I don't know what everything happened. But, you would see, we found helmets from when he was a test pilot. We found like his flight logs. We found so many different things. And it was good to find it. And it was hard to see my son and my daughter realize there's some aspects of him that they didn't know, because it's like, when you're a teenager growing up, or when you're, you think that you know a little bit about your parents, but you're not really that interested in the history or how they were or what it was like. And so now that he was 26 when we were going through, I know he wanted to know more about his dad. And now his dad's gone. He can't ask questions. But but we do know his best friend from West Point, and they can talk to him.
So I don't remember the timeline, but were the kids born while he was in the military, or was he in civil service?
He was working at Air Inc. In Annapolis when I met him. And I was a lieutenant in the Navy. I was stationed at the Naval Academy. Yeah. And then I got stationed in D.C. So we moved down to PAX when Anna was 1. So he got a job, and Anna's 24 now. So he got a job with the government when Anna was about 1.
Got it. Mm-hmm. Okay. So they don't have memories of him being in the military at all?
They do some, because he was a reservist, right? He retired as a colonel. So they saw him on the weekend with drill and stuff. But it's a little different.
Yeah, because when you discover the things that he had from his career in the military in a box somewhere, like you said, they really want to know the story.
Yeah, and then you don't have it. Mm-hmm. But some of his nameplates for his desk and stuff, Will's going to put in his office. So I think that's cool.
Yeah. So last night we talked about Sky and his synchronicity and how everything kind of happens. Do you think that something you're experiencing during this really, I think, is prepping you for something you're going to face, and you just don't have any clue what it is?
I don't know.
I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
And you try to like live in your moments, but at the same time, I said, things get revealed in the order that they're supposed to be revealed to you. Mm-hmm. And so from this standpoint, going through this with Bruce, finding some forgiveness in your heart, letting go of the anger possibly that you had, is going to open you up to possibilities in your life.
I've let go of the anger.
Yeah.
Because it's not good to hold on to it. I probably let go of it a long, long time ago. What I mostly feel is sadness for what could have been. Like, we could have stayed together if we went to counseling and stuff, but just if we could have worked it out, I feel sadness. But I think it's enabling me, like everything that I've been through in my life, like what I went through with my son as an alcoholic, doing drugs and stuff. I'm able to relate to people that are going through that now. And then just having Bruce pass away, I'm able to relate. You can't really relate. Like, I couldn't relate to somebody who had a dog die until my dog died. And it's the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if I would say it's worse to have a dog die than a human, because I couldn't really talk to my dog like I can to a human. I don't know. It was really hard. And when Pearl's sitting here, she's always with me when I do my interviews.
She's great.
She and I are so connected.
She immediately, gave me the little woof. And then once she discovered I was nice, then next thing I know, she's wanting to get up in my lap.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she's a great dog.
She is a good dog.
And then you got the full pull last night of all the Wernicke's for Sunday dinner.
I know. So. That was so fun to see Sam and Kate because I didn't know Kate very well, but Sam, was on the basketball team when Ray and I coached, and that was fun.
Yeah. And Bree, again, they had their engagement party on Saturday. So it was trying to learn how much they knew about each other. And they had a whiteboard in front of them, a little whiteboard, and they were answering. And that was Bree's superpower. She wants to be able to talk to dogs. That's what her superpower. She really wants to be able, because she's got a cute dog, Hazel, and so, but she's just that really cool animal lover. And
Friday I went to see a dog communicator. This woman, you can learn it apparently. She went to school for 2 years, and she is not just a dog communicator. She's an animal communicator.
Like a horse whisperer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She talks to horses. She talks to animals. She talks to and one of the. Oh gosh, it was.
Don't we all like give off vibes?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
that'd be cool if she went to class for school for 2 years to learn it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
If you think about like FBI people that that look at humans and watch their facial expressions and can read them, and the whole lie detecting kind of things or that sort of thing. It's fascinating, a science to it. So it makes sense that she could do it with animals.
Do you think that people can do it with humans? Because, I don't know. But a friend of mine, Jerry, connected me with this guy that is in California at a bookstore. And he communicates with spirits, he says. So I called him and he asked for my full name. And then the things that he revealed, I don't know how he doesn't know Bruce. He doesn't know my kids. But the things that he brought up, it was so weird. And at the end, he said, the spirit I'm talking with is somebody who really loves fishing. That's Bruce. Is thinking about a place by the water that you guys stayed. He died living at a house on the water. Is somebody who likes to be behind the scenes, not out in front. Bruce was always behind the scenes. It's so weird because he said there was some kind of an attack before he died. What happened? He said, I see his arms like tied up. I said, well, both of his arms were paralyzed when he died. And he said, but he's saying I deserved it. He's telling me I deserved it because I raised my hand too much. But he never hit, but maybe it was just an anger thing, but it was so weird. He says, I deserved it.
Wow.
And then he says, there's 2 children coming. I'm like, I said, not with me, right? I'm 57. No, but my kids. That's what he said. And then he said, he doesn't want you to get too wrapped up in being a grandmother. He wants you to enjoy your life too. And that is something that Bruce would say. And then he said, even he loves you. And even though he wants you to know he never cheated on you, which I know he didn't. And then he said, he also wants you to know he loves you and that he's sorry, even though he can't say it. He could just show it, but he can never say he was sorry.
Yeah.
And then some of the other things that he shared, it was like, I don't know if he was communicating with them, but he said he's around, he's been around. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. I believe in people. Everybody has a different gift.
Yeah.
That's his gift, to be able to speak to the spirit on the other side of our loved ones. I can't discount that. How do magicians do what they do? How do people, everybody has a different gift.
Yeah.
So, and don't you know or feel like sometimes when you meet somebody, there's an instant vibe or connection with them that you just know?
Yeah.
And some people are off-putting to you, and some people you gravitate, and there's a pull to it. And like I said, I believe that everybody has that kind of vibe to them that we feel automatically.
And then he said, 2014, I see a journey. Well, I had just finished writing my About Me page for my website. I haven't published it yet, but 2014 is the year I went to the World Domination Summit, which had me realize there's a whole nother way of living, which helped me decide to retire at age 56.
Yeah.
That was the journey I started. It was in 2014. So it's just,
awesome.
I guess you could put all that together, but it's just like too many things seemed
right on point.
Yeah. So
that's wild.
Yeah. Well, I hope Bree becomes an animal communicator.
Me too, because she loves them. Sam doesn't know what he's in for and how many pets they're going to end up having in their lifetime. So, like I said, when we built this house, we built floors that were pet friendly. Knowing grand dogs of some sort would come into the house.
That was smart.
But Ray did say, if I say dog, say no. He said, because it's like having another child.
Yeah, it is.
And he said, we're grandparents now. And you talked about being grandparents, but we want to be like part-time grandparents.
They can come
like
and go.
Sunday for dinner, or, hey, somebody's sick. Can you watch them for the day while we go to work or whatever? I love that.
Right.
But being full-time grandparents, I hope it doesn't come to that for whatever circumstances there are in life. But,
yeah.
And we'd do it if we had to. But
yeah. I know.
Yeah. So it's fun being part-time grandparents, as you could see.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And I make them do what my grandfather did with me, which is you better greet me when you come in the door and you better say goodbye and hug me when you leave, because you never know.
Right,
so,
right.
But yeah, my grandfather, I could walk around the whole house and he'd finally walk up and he'd say, you haven't greeted me today.
Uh-oh.
I was like, oh crap. I went that way into the kitchen because I could smell something cooking. So yeah. Again, I just wanted to make sure you were okay emotionally today. As your real estate agent, typically we would go to closing and I would be in the room with you, but COVID-19 has put that to rest for all agents. We're no longer allowed to do that. Certainly, if you need me to sit out in the car with Pearl, I'll be happy to do that. But truthfully, I miss that part of the real estate journey because it is a journey when you meet somebody and you put their home through photography and helping clean out and seeing what you're going through.
Right.
And just being able to witness all of that and to be a part of that is a privilege that I think of in regards to me and being helpful. And then being able to culminate at the closing table is something that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And now COVID has taken that away from me and from other agents. And so I'm either, other appointments or parking lot or wherever I got to be. So, but.
Well, you made the whole experience more pleasant. And, you were really organized. And I really appreciated the way you took care of helping us get the house cleaned up and ready to go. And I'm not going to go see it as cleaned up as it is and everything, but I've seen the pictures and it looks perfect. And, all the repairs that needed to be done were done. And the way you guys did it with, let's get an inspection. Let's just take care of all the inspection stuff up front. And that really helped too. Yeah. And then when the buyer gets an inspection, we kind of have most everything taken care of.
Yeah.
So.
And that kind of stuff is so helpful, but again, sometimes it's hard. It's just hard. You're in Virginia.
Yeah.
Will's up the road.
Right.
Anna's in Denver.
Right.
So for me, I would go check on the house, have fun. Today I will go because I'm going to remove the lockbox that's on the fence and take my sign out of the yard. But I will do one more walkthrough. And that I already received the walkthrough statement from the buyers. So they've already walked through and they're fine and happy with buying the house. So they're excited. So today will just be about that. I'll deliver the key to the title company and then I'll walk away. But our friendship won't be done.
Nope.
I'll still be listening to you on the Onward podcast, see stuff on Facebook, join the Onward movement stuff when you have it, if I can.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's scheduling appointments and stuff.
Yeah, I understand.
And you're welcome back here anytime, you and Pearl, and if you come back to Maryland for things. So
thank you so much.
We'd love to have you.
Thank you, Helen.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Helen, for interviewing me. And thank you for letting me and my doggie Pearl stay at your house on Sunday night. I really enjoyed seeing your children and just catching up. So as I wrap this episode up, I just want everybody to remember how precious life is. Sometimes we're just going so fast. And with COVID and the fires and everything that's going on, we can just get caught up and sometimes just forget to just sit and be, not be doing, just sit and be. Meditate, just be quiet your mind. And be thankful that you're still here on earth and just check in with yourself and make sure that you're living your life the way you want to live it. One of the things that makes me really, really sad is when I go in my study and I look at Bruce's files that I still have and all of the files that he had about retirement. He was, I think he was 63 or 4 when he's 64 when he died. And he was going to be retiring in the next year or so. He was really planning on retiring. And he was always sending me emails with articles about retirement, talking about saving for retirement, planning for retirement. He had a plan and he didn't get to live out his plan as he had hoped. And I just want to make sure everyone's listening. Really think about your plan and really Make sure you're living every day the way you want to live your life, because life is so precious and it's so short. And when you go, you don't take anything with you. It's left for your loved ones to look through, to remember you, and how you lived your life is going to be remembered too. So think about how you want to be remembered. How do you want to live your life? And check in with yourself from time to time just to make sure that you're on the right track. Thank you for listening. Have a great week, everybody.